Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Season 12, Episode 39, overall 644 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out their website, barrycullen.com, for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all-electric vehicles and Cadillac vehicles as well. You can call the dealership at 519-824-0210 and tell them Chris Palme sent you, or you can email them at info@barrycullen.com. Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership has been family run and operated here in the city of Guelph since 1969, and they've been a proud advertiser of this show for the last 3+ years. And speaking of Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, with winter here in full effect and the snow coming, if you're looking for winter tires, check out Greg Smith, service consultant, or Sarah Higgins at Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership here in Guelph. Good morning, everybody, on this Wednesday, January 7th, 2026. I'm still having trouble saying 2026. I'm still stuck in 2025, but this is my third show of the year, and I'm really looking forward to my guest today. I met her through TikTok and talking with her, and her name is Siarah Khan. She is a communications and confidence coach based in London, England, or known as the United Kingdom, and we're going to bring on Siarah right now. Good morning, Siarah. How are you?
Good morning, Chris. I'm very well. Thank you for having me on your show.
A little technical glitch there. I'm still learning all these gadgets on StreamYard.com, which is my live stream provider here.
Oh, well, I didn't notice the technical glitch.
Well, I want to say good morning or good afternoon, I should say, as the UK is 5 hours ahead of you. Now, I'm on East Coast time here. How do they announce it in the UK for time zones?
Well, over here it's Greenwich Mean Time is the way that is the time zone that we use here. So yes, just after 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Now, have you ever been to North America or Canada before?
I have. I've been to North America many times, a lot on work trips, and I have been to Canada only once. I was in Toronto, and I was very lucky to see the Niagara Falls while I was there. So it's a beautiful, beautiful part of the world. And I'd very much like to go back and see more of it.
Yes, I'm about an hour from Toronto and about an hour and a half from Niagara Falls. And Niagara Falls is very beautiful too. And if you like wine, Niagara Falls, that area is wine country here in Canada.
Oh, wow. Well, sounds brilliant. I love nature. I love nature. So that's why I really love the Niagara Falls.
Overall, how was your experience over in Toronto and Niagara Falls?
Oh, it was beautiful. It was stunning. I'm glad I took my waterproofs with me because it was pretty wet when you're closer to the falls. But no, everyone was lovely. I had a lot of maple syrup. And I had a really lovely time.
I've never been to the United Kingdom and in London, and obviously that's a bucket list of mine. I've heard stories from my guests that the UK is very similar to Canada as well.
I think our sense of humor is quite similar, actually. I think that's probably very true. I feel like Canadians are probably a little bit more friendlier than Londoners, and I live in London, which, can be a little bit sort of, doesn't always have a community feel depending on where you live and what areas and what your neighbors are like. But yeah, I think the sense of humor is quite similar. I think a lot of the food is quite similar. I mean, you might have gravy on your chips, but we have lots of other things on our chips. So yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities. You should make your way over here, Chris.
Absolutely, and I had a guest on from London a couple weeks ago. Her name is Kadisha. She's a life coach,
Mhm.
and I had a great conversation with her as well. What do you love about the United Kingdom the most? And for people like myself who've never been to London, why? What are some reasons why they should come over and visit?
Do you know one of the things that I really love about London is the diversity? Like, there's so many different people from different ethnicities and cultures, and it's a real melting pot in that sense. I think a lot of that comes from the British Empire having been, so big at one point that it brought a lot of different immigrants over here. But I think that's the richness of it. In the UK, the national dish is like an Indian curry, which isn't even a British dish, but that just kind of shows you how much all the different cultures and have sort of melted in this city. And in across the country, obviously some pockets are a bit more diverse than others, but that's one of the things I really love, which then takes me to my second thing, which is the food. The food is amazing. You can get every type of cuisine here, of which obviously my favorite is curry, followed by Japanese food. And who doesn't love a Sunday roast? Like a proper traditional British Sunday roast is definitely a thing that you have to have when you're here, alongside sticky toffee pudding, which is my favorite dessert.
What makes a good Indian curry?
Oh man, like I would say, what my mum would say is it being made with love? Essentially, putting some effort and some care into it. But yeah, like I would, on a practical sense, like I would say, put more onions in at the base than you think you need, because that really makes a nice thick sauce and really flavorsome curry.
What are some of your favorite drinks or beverages down there in London?
Oh God, what do people drink here? I mean, I really like an elderflower fizz. That's like one of my favorite things to drink. Obviously, like, there's a big pub culture. People love to drink beer. There's a lot of Irish people that drink a lot of Guinness. I think you can get everything over here. I think spirit-wise in the UK tends to be a bit more, I guess, gin and things, which I think in the US it tends to be a bit more tequila. When I see my colleagues in the US, that's what they tend to drink. There's a few differences there, but yeah, I think I think it's not too dissimilar.
The toffee bread pudding sounds great. I'm a foodie and I like desserts, so that sounds great. And also, do you guys have a lot of pasta over there? Because I'm a pasta guy too.
We do, and actually, I grew up in a town which is called Bedford, which has the second largest community of Italians outside of London. So I grew up eating a lot of pasta, and a lot of my very good friends are Italian. So yeah, we have some really good pasta places here, and the proximity to Italy is pretty good. You can be in Milan in about 2 hours on a flight, so it's quite easy to pop over to get a little fix from Italy as well if that's needed.
I'm gonna have to get over there because the UK is on my bucket list, and also Italy too because I love Italian food, and it's one thing to have it in North America, but to have it where it was come from Italy, I think that would be special. By the way, I had a guest on a couple times from the UK from
Mhm.
your area, and her name's Olivia Lynn, and she's a country music artist, and she was telling me how big country music has exploded over in the UK as well.
Yeah, I hear that a lot actually. I haven't gotten so into it myself, but I mean, again, like music is a big melting pot, British music in terms of, everyone loves everything here from house music to drum and bass to garage to, to your point, to country music and things like that. So that's really cool. I think everyone sort of has quite eclectic taste in music, which is great.
Music is kind of a cheaper form of therapy along with comedy as well. I've had some comedian friends who have performed over in the UK, and they had a great experience over there.
Oh, really? Do you mean in therapy in terms of the fact that you can put some music on and it really like lifts your mood and you can like sort of dance around your living room? I love doing that.
It's very powerful. There are some songs where you hear they can make you sad and think of sad times, but
Mhm.
generally, yeah, music I find can really help with your mental health and change your moods too if it's the upbeat music.
Oh yeah, no, I completely agree. It can invoke memories, it can take you to a place. Like you said, it can make you sad, but sometimes um I don't know, sometimes I just want to feel sad and actually it really works for that. But definitely I listen to music all the time when I get up, whatever I'm doing, if I'm cooking, if I'm getting ready, if I'm at the gym. I'm always listening to music, which is great. It definitely is I do have a soundtrack to my life.
Do you have any musical ability? I don't. I tried karaoke once and I emptied out a bar in New York City, so
Uh,
I definitely
yeah,
don't have musical.
no, I don't either. I mean, only on like sort of forced work dues where we have to sing karaoke, but that's within an enclosed private space of some colleagues. I don't really sing, and I don't
Right.
play any instruments, unfortunately.
What was the last concert you went to, and who are some of your favorite artists?
The last one I went to, that's a great question. The first one that sprung to mind actually was Jungle. Have you heard of Jungle?
No, I have not.
It's a UK, I think it's a UK band, but they do sort of dance music. So I went to see them at Brixton Academy with a good friend. Actually, I think after that I went to see London Grammar. I don't know if you've heard of London Grammar. They're an amazing band, British band. Actually, I went to see them with a good friend of mine not that long ago. And now I'm thinking about it, actually, the most recent one I went to was Oasis. Have you heard of Oasis?
Yes, that I have. Yes.
Right. So they did their reunion tour in the UK. So I went to see them in July, actually. That was the most recent one. And that was brilliant. I loved Oasis. I actually went to see them as my first ever concert. This is going to age me. But when I was 16, I went to Nebworth, which was an amazing gig, and Prodigy was supporting them, and it was fantastic. And so, yeah, that was the most recent one, actually, which was really, really good. I loved it.
Now, the UK's had a lot of great musicians and performers over the decades. Which one would you pick as maybe the most popular coming from the UK?
I mean, over the decades, I think we have to go with the Beatles, don't we?
Yes. Yes. Now, since you brought up the Beatles, you have a favorite particular Beatles song?
Oh man, I like Imagine. I do like that.
That's a good choice. I like It's a Hard Day's Night, Working Like a Dog. I can't sing.
Yeah.
And also Help. That song.
Yeah.
Those are my two favorite songs. Like all their songs are great, but I would say Working Like a Dog. I think it's called It's a Hard Day's Night.
Hard Day's Night, yeah.
And then and Help. Those are my two favorite songs.
Yeah, I mean, they did a lot of good songs, so there's a lot to choose from there. But yeah, I do like Imagine because I think it brings people to it sort of gives me a feel when you listen to that song. It sort of gives you hope and makes you feel positive and optimistic. I quite like it.
Music is truly international, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It definitely is. It is. It crosses lots of boundaries, brings people together. You know, if you go to a concert, there's all sorts of different people there, which is really wonderful. Sports is like that, actually. And I know you're a big sports fan. Sports is really good at bringing different people from different backgrounds together.
Now, I'm not sure how big of a sports fan are you, but over in North America, we call it soccer, but I know over in the Europe and the UK, you guys call it football. So, are you a football fan per se?
Not really. Technically, I should be an Arsenal fan because that's the closest stadium to me. It's just down the road, and I live in Islington. But no, I mean, I am a big fan of like Formula One. I quite like following boxing, but I'm not a big football fan, unfortunately. But, you know, I have watched a game here and there, and I love the Euros and the World Cup final. So I do. I mean, I think the whole country gets behind England in those moments. So, yeah.
I've had a couple of guests on. I have one guest on from California who's a professional motorcycle racer. His name's Edward Hearn. I'm not sure if he's watching this morning. And then I've had another guest since you mentioned boxing. Her name's Mia St. John's. She's a 5-time women's boxing champion. I had her on my show a year ago as well.
Wow, that's super cool. That's really cool.
Well, and like I said, it's the guests that make a great show, and I've been very lucky. And this technology is amazing, where I've had people on even as far away as Australia on my show.
God, that's fantastic, and that is really far away.
That's another country I want to visit too, because I think it's similar to Canada, and that's somewhere I'd like to go to. The UK obviously, and Australia as well, because the people seem to be really friendly there.
They are, and it's a beautiful country. The only thing I'd warn you about is like all of the bugs and insects are like 5 times the size that you think they normally are. Like it's a beautiful country with beautiful nature and great weather, but the trade-off is massive bugs, snakes, spiders, frogs. Like there's a lot of wildlife all around you.
What part of Australia have you been to?
I just did the East Coast actually, just from sort of Melbourne up to like Cairns. So, which is the typical sort of, it was when I was backpacking, it was a typical backpacking route. So I was there for about 6 weeks, traveling up the coast, and it was stunning. I really loved it.
I have never been on an airplane yet. That's a fun fact about me, but I've heard from Canada to Australia is about a 16.5 hour flight. How long of a flight would it be from the UK to Australia?
It would be similar. And then they've now got this direct route from London to, I think, Perth, which I think is similar. It's about 16, 17 hours, I want to say. But I wouldn't recommend that as your first flight, Chris. It's pretty long. I would maybe try something within like 4 or 5 hour mark and see how you go. And then work your way up to that long flight. So that's really long. Usually most places, the longest flight is about 11 hours, and that can feel like quite a long time. So 16 hours is really, I've not done that myself. On one
So
leg.
5 hours, so 4 or 5 hours wouldn't be bad. I think from Toronto to London, UK, I think it's about a 5-6 hour flight, I believe.
Yeah, it's not too bad. You can watch 1 or 2 movies and then you'll be here. That's kind of, the time goes a little quicker.
Speaking of airplanes in the flight industry, I have a flight attendant, a longtime flight attendant on my show on Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Her name's Emily Arner, and she's going to come on and talk about her career as a flight attendant and some of her favorite places that she's traveled to as a flight attendant.
Wow. Well, I'm a big fan of travel. That's why I work for a travel company as well. And, I think it's immersing yourself in different cultures, different languages, different foods, connecting with different people around the world. I think it just brings a sense of, I don't know how lucky I am and where I live, and also a sense of understanding of different people and what they've been through and what they can, what they're bringing to the world. So yeah, I just think it's a really powerful thing to travel and to be able to do that. And I'm very lucky that I've been able to do that in my life, because not everyone always can. So I'm very appreciative.
Without getting into politics, I've actually been more to the States and Canada. So the first goal on my list is to travel around more of Canada, because there's a lot of great spots. And then obviously I want to do more of Canada, the western part of Canada too. And then obviously the UK and Australia and Italy. And gotta ask you this. Top 3 places that you have traveled to so far?
Oh man, that's a really tough question. Where were I really liked Colombia. I went there actually probably about 7-8 years ago, and I really like Medellin, which is ironic because that's the home of Pablo Escobar. But it was such a beautiful city. The weather was amazing. The people were lovely. It had a really nice sort of like energy to it. I really liked that. I liked Colombia. I really loved Laos, next door to like Cambodia and Vietnam, mainly because it has a real soul to it, that country, I felt, and the people were beautiful. So I really connected with that country. And I'm trying to think of a third country that I really like. Well, essentially, it's not really a country, and I'm cheating a little here, but I've recently been really into Africa. This year I went to Botswana and Zimbabwe. Last year I went to Rwanda. There's just something special about that continent, like the nature, the wildlife, the people, even the food, I think is great. Like I just find it very nourishing and very healing when I'm there. So that's somewhere that I've been spending more and more time in recently.
I'm going to put you on the spot here, Siarah. What is next on your traveling bucket list?
Oh God, it's a long list. The place that I really always wanted to go to, but I'm not able to because it's not very safe, is Ethiopia. I'd love to go there, but it's on the kind of British do not go list, so I can't. I also want to do more of sort of the Nordics. Like I'm planning a trip to Sweden quite soon to go up to see the Northern Lights, which I've never seen. And so I'd like to do like Iceland, Norway, Sweden, those types of countries. And I think I've now appreciate, the beauty of like snow and winter much more than, as well as the beauty of like a sunny beach somewhere, which I also love.
Speaking of snow, do you guys get snow in London in the UK? Snow
Oh,
in winter weather?
yeah, I mean, we just had lots of snow yesterday, actually, and it's quite icy out there today. So yeah, we're having a cold blast at the moment. So we definitely get snow. It doesn't always settle in London. It tends to settle outside of London. So when I looked at like some of my friends, they had they had enough snow to have a snowball fight, for instance, where if I look outside my window, it kind of all just melts. London's also slightly warmer than the rest of the country.
Where I live near Toronto, we have our 4 seasons. Our summers are now hot and humid, and then fall, winter, and spring. And for me, my favorite seasons are fall and winter. What are your favorite seasons?
Oh, I'm going to probably go opposite to you and say like spring and summer. I mean, my birthday's in spring, so that's a big reason. I also think that run from January to March can be quite hard after Christmas, and it gets darker and it all feels a little bit miserable. And so as soon as you get to that springtime, I'm like, oh, you sort of feel like you can start sort of coming out of your house a bit more, and have to be hibernating anymore. And so, and I love the summer. I think London in the summer is the best city in the world. Like everyone's in a good mood. There's like, lots of people like on the streets, like, talking, having fun. And yeah, so that I definitely like those 2 seasons the most. Why do you like winter and autumn?
Because our summers have gotten too hot and humid here. I don't mind if a temperature is like 75 degrees, like, I don't know, in the 70s or whatever, but sometimes it gets into the 90s and hundreds, and I find that's just too hot. So if I had a perfect summer temperature, I would say 75 degrees, which we do ours in Celsius, which I'm not sure if you guys do as well. So that's probably around 24, 25 Celsius.
Yeah, we do ours in Celsius, and that is the perfect weather. Yeah, we don't have that problem as much as you guys do, Chris. It doesn't get super, super hot. Like occasionally you have a few days or a week of a heat wave, but generally it stays within that perimeter that you're saying. So you need to come in the summer. You'll enjoy it a lot more than your summer in Canada.
Deal, definitely. I'm going to get some questions right now. I'm based near Toronto. Can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself, and where did you attend school, and did you have any early influences and mentors?
Yeah, sure. I was born and raised in a small town called Bedford. When I was sort of about 10 or 11, my mum put me into like a private girls' school, and because she thought it would be better education for me, which it was. What my experience was that it was a great education, but I was put in an environment where I was with a lot of people that had a similar background to me. They weren't necessarily coming from privileged backgrounds, and it was quite diverse going into a private girls' school where it was not diverse at all, and there was a handful of people that sort of looked like me. And so it was quite a stark difference in terms of the culture and the people that were there, but the education was great. So I'm very grateful for the fact that I had that experience, and it's enabled me to do well and continue on to university and get a degree and get a decent job. So I'm very grateful for that. In terms of mentors, like, it's going to sound cliche, but it's definitely got to be my mom. Like, she's definitely the strongest person that I know. She's hasn't had the easiest life. She's sort of had a lot of challenges in that life, but she's always said to me to think positively, to like work hard and make sure that if you work hard, that you'll have options. And it's really important to have options in life. You don't want to be stuck in a difficult situation that you can't get out of because you haven't got options, or you haven't got means to like financially support yourself or get yourself out of those situations. So yeah, she pushed education very hard when to myself and my siblings when we were children. And at the time, I didn't love it. Like, I remember, when I was like 5 or 6, she would go to school and she'd ask for extra homework from the teachers. And I'm like, oh, it's so embarrassing. Why are you asking for extra homework? I don't want it. But, that extra homework has paid off. So I'm very thankful for it.
Now, when I was in school, I did okay, but you know what? To be honest, being 53 now, I think if I went back to school now, I think I would even have more focus, because when you're younger, From my experience, I just didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't have really good focus. I did okay, but I think I would enjoy school more. And I think I've done more learning now than I did when I was in school. And what I tell kids is education is huge. In the classroom, it's very important, but education doesn't stop when you're out of school as well. You can self-teach yourself. You can keep learning even when you're not in the classroom.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think when I was reflecting back on those years, I feel, you're constantly learning when you're a child, like from you're like 3 or 4 when you in the UK, at least when you start going to nursery until you're sort of at least 18 or 16, I guess, is the minimum over here. You're constantly in education. So I remember at the time of I finished university, I just didn't want to learn anything new because I've just spent so much of my life learning. And actually, when you take a break from that, when I did my like sort of life coaching course, I really enjoyed that whole process of learning something new and digging into something different because I hadn't been learning for so long, in that sort of structured, formulaic way. And I really embraced it, to your point. Like now, like it's really wonderful to educate yourself, but that's because I had a nice gap. I think when you're younger, it's just you're doing it so much that at some point you just sort of, I definitely wanted to have a break from that. But yeah, now I relish it.
And switching careers from security to media radio, I have learned a lot. And that's what I love about this industry. It can be very tough, but I'm constantly learning. I've learned how to set up a podcast. I've learned how to edit video. I've learned how to do content creating. I think I've done more learning in the last 6 years than I did in my other career. I'm grateful for my other career, but at the end, I wasn't really growing. And in this media radio, everything changes daily. So that's what I love about doing this show.
And that's wonderful. And I also think like it's really important to exercise your brain. A lot of people like, you're comfortable or you're doing the same thing that you've always done. If you're not stretching and growing and, learning new things, then you're not exercising your brain and that muscle memory, which I think does have an impact on, hopefully how well, I will be when I'm older mentally. I feel like it's a muscle you need to exercise as well as your body. But yeah, and it's really nice. I think there was this whole thing around like different types of happiness, and there's a happiness you get from a sense of achievement. And I think you can get that a lot from learning something and getting into some, achieving a goal that you set out to do, like you have done, Chris, where you can feel like, you really achieved that. And that sense of happiness around achievement lasts a lot longer than happiness from doing something that, brings you joy or, or buying something like that can bring you happiness, but it doesn't last nearly as long. And so I think it's really helpful for that sort of mental health aspect as well.
You want to continue to grow and not shrink.
Yeah, exactly. And it's important, but, and we're all accountable to ourselves for that, right? Your growth isn't on anybody else, is on yourself. Like if you want to grow and learn, you have to take action around it yourself. You can have people to support you, but we're all accountable for the lives that we lead as much as we can, as much as freedom we have in that choice. And so I really believe that all roads lead back to you. No matter what happens in your life, how you react, how you think, how you feel, all of those things, it's a choice, and it's up to you to make a choice that serves you, that works for you, and hopefully brings out the best in you.
The word I wanted to use with you, Siarah, is step out of your comfort zone. And I've done some things where I was kind of nervous and scared doing camera work and doing this 6 years ago. And I think the only way you grow as a person and an individual is you got to learn to step out of your comfort zone from time to time.
Yeah, I love that. One of my mantras in life is like, if you're not taking risks, you're not living life. And, for me, one of the biggest risks I took was when I went like backpacking on my own, when I was in my like late 20s. And that was a little scary because I, hadn't really traveled by myself before. And so I had to take a deep breath and go for it. But it was the most wonderful thing I've ever done. And then I got the massive solo travel bug as well. After that, I always do a trip every year by myself. It's one of those things that I really enjoy. It's just a different type of trip than when you go with friends or family or whoever. And yeah, but it really helped build my confidence because you're on the other side of the world completely by yourself. And, you have to learn to trust your instincts. and trust people or not trust people, or, you know, all those sorts of things. It was, it really sort of was a big pivotal moment for me in terms of shaping who I am today.
As for solo travel, when I was younger, there was like a social taboo. Oh, you can't go out in public by yourself. You can't travel by yourself. I've traveled a lot of bus trips, like obviously sporting trips and stuff like sightseeing trips in the States. This is before all the political stuff going on, and I met other wonderful people, and I have an ability to connect with people. So even though I go on these trips by myself, I end up befriending a lot of people, meeting a lot of new people, and stuff like that too from these trips.
It's exactly that. I mean, I always think like you're on your own. I'm on my own if I choose to be on my own. And if I don't want to be on my own, I just go up and talk to someone. And invariably, people are friendly. They'll come talk to you, you know, whether they're on their own or whether they're a couple, if they're old or young, whoever. Like, it's exactly that. And I've met some of my really good friends I've met when I was traveling, and I've met them in multiple places after that, or, you know, we've met up since then. So I think that's definitely true. And isn't that wonderful that you know that you can go somewhere and you can trust yourself to meet people and to have a great time with them if you choose to.
And you said this too, your instincts. You got to trust your gut sometimes. Sometimes you get a negative vibe about somebody or a positive vibe. So you've got to kind of listen to your intuition and your instincts too as well.
Yeah. That was one of the best things about traveling by myself, is that I learned to do that. Like, I thought I was quite in tune with my instincts, but I wasn't as much as I was after that experience, because you've got no one else to like play off anything, you know, to discuss, should I do this, should I not, what should I do next? You have to be decisive, and you have to trust your instincts and your judgment on people. And sometimes those judgments have to be quite quick, you know, whether you feel safe with someone or not. And so that was like a wonderful gift and a huge learning that I had from that experience. Was it the same for you?
Yes, absolutely. And I've been pretty lucky so far. There was one area where I was in Detroit. This was like 15 years ago. And I had somebody with me, and I said, hey, I have a bad vibe about this area. Let's get out of there. And sure enough, I was correct. And I'm kind of glad I listened to my instincts about this one area we're in. I was like, it's time to get out of here.
Yeah, and the more you practice it, the more that you do that, the stronger that connection becomes, and the more it's sort of you instantly, you know, you don't doubt yourself. I think, you know, I think trusting your gut, trusting yourself is a pivotal foundation for lots of things in your life. You know, some people I see don't trust themselves anymore. They don't trust their instincts, and it has such a big impact on every other aspect of their life. And that's really sad, because I feel like it's something that you have to work on to build. But once you have it, it can unlock like how much you sort of love yourself, how much your self-worth is, you know, to yourself. So it's really pivotal in that sense.
Sarah, I wanted to get you this question as well. When did you develop an interest in helping others, and how important was your lived experiences in traveling into your path into coaching?
I would say that if I look back, I've always had an interest in helping other people, and I've always had comments, particularly, you know, as I got into my 20s and a bit more of an adult, where I had a way of seeing situations. I think sometimes you have that looking from the outside in, that was really helpful to other people, and a way of sort of understanding their problems and asking them questions to helping them get to a resolution. And so it's been one of those things that I've always sort of had feedback on, that it was something that I was good at, and people, particularly my friends and family, appreciated in me. And but it wasn't until I spoke to, so I have some friends that are quite sort of spiritual, and I feel like they have sort of good instincts on things and quite wise. And it wasn't until I spoke to a friend who said, actually, you know, why don't you do something with this, like do something more with this, rather than just with like friends and people you come across. And I remember having this really wonderful conversation, and I was like, what should I do? I wasn't really sure. I was like, maybe I should help a charity, maybe I should do something else. And anyway, talking about social media, the very next day I went on Instagram. and I got served this piece of content from Jay Shetty's certification school. And sometimes how you don't notice things until you're sort of looking for them and your brain filters them out. It's kind of like a neuroscience thing. So for some reason I saw that and it just felt right. And I was like, oh my God, like maybe I should be a coach. And I had a conversation with the people that administer there, and it sort of went from there, and it just kind of felt right, but it also felt like the right time. So I think it's an interest that's always been there. I really enjoy helping people. I get a lot from it, and I feel like also I wish that there was someone helping me more when I was younger, and particularly in the corporate world. I made a lot of mistakes. I learned a lot of lessons the really hard, painful, difficult way, particularly as a woman that's South Asian. And I'd really like to pay it forward and help people understand that corporate world in a way that I never understood, and get to somewhere and reach their full potential a lot quicker than I have.
Now, how important was your lived experience into your passing coaching, and just thoughts on yourself as a coach and being certified by Jay Shetty Certification School? How much did that help you?
Oh, I mean, the training was fantastic. It really gave me a good framework in terms of how to think about helping someone. Starting with it's some of it is common sense, but a lot of it is like tools and techniques. So you may know, how to, what could be, what someone could be going through, but actually being able to coach them through that to help them get to their own answers is a bit of a skill. And what I really love about coaching, which is different from like being a mentor or therapist and things like that, is and what Jay Shetty believes that, and his certification school that I agree with, is that, we all already hold all our own answers. You just need to sort of trust yourself enough to like hear them, or have someone help guide you to them. And so I've always really believed that each of us is our own greatest teacher, but also our biggest critic, right? We can be both. Like, can be our biggest advocate and our biggest critic. And so when you work with a coach, it will help you shift your focus from everything that could go wrong, like, which is basically making decisions based on fear and doubt, which a lot of us do, and I definitely have done in my past, to like really imagining what could go right, like really rooting your decisions in trust and confidence. And when you do that, like everything changes. And that's how you become like your best teacher, unlock your confidence and reach your full potential. And I think the work that I did and the course that I did with Jay Shetty's Certification School really helped me on that journey and put a framework around it that I could help others with. Doesn't mean I haven't made some of that shaped that to work for me as a coach, because everyone's authentically different. But it was a really good framework in that. And in terms of lived experience, a lot of my lived experiences helped me be a coach. There's a lot of challenging situations that I've been in. I think, as like I said, like learning about the corporate world and how that works, being passed over for promotions and pay rises, not really understanding why, not understanding, strategy, like the games, that are played, like how all of that works. Like I've had to learn that, what it's like to be a leader, to be a good people manager, all of those things I've learned the hard way. But, I've also had some good mentors along the way as well. There was a guy called Ben that was one of my clients once upon a time. I worked at a PR agency, who then became my mentor and really helped me through a lot of, sort of strategy conversations around how to like run a team and how to like shape a team and things like that. So there's a lot of people that have helped along the way. There's no way that I've done this by myself, but I try to learn from each of those and see every challenge and every difficult moment as a learning moment, and seeing what can I learn from this and how can I grow from this and move forward.
How would you describe yourself as a coach, and how much do you feel you've evolved and improved as a coach over even the past couple years?
I would say that I became a communications confidence coach because like I said, I wanted women to learn, didn't want women to learn everything the hard way like I did. I wish I had someone there to help me. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do. And I really want to work with women who feel unseen, underestimated, or stuck, and help them really reconnect with themselves, like help set boundaries without feeling guilty about it. And really move from like self-doubt to self-trust and being who they authentically are. And that really starts with how you talk about, talk to yourself, the conversation you have with yourself in your head. Like, and so that's the kind of coaching that I do, is like going back into yourself, like realizing who you are, your authentic self. Because I think there's this great definition I heard from this guy called Vex King, where he said, who you truly are is who you are when you take away like fear, pain, and hurt. When you take all those things away, what you're left with is who you truly are. So you're not trying to, react to this, or you're not trying to be this person for someone else, and it's really, it takes a lot to realize who you truly are at your core. There's a whole journey to go on to get to that, when you're not just, I don't know, a husband or a wife or a mother or the victim of this, or someone that went through this challenging time. And once you identify who that person is and take yourself back to that place and be that person truly in all areas of your life, I think that's when you really unlock your full potential and you really become yourself in your stride. And I feel like then the universe sort of shines with you when you're in that space. And that's what I really I focus on as a coach, is getting people back to them true selves, which will have an unlock on how they show up at work, how they show up with their family, how they show up with their friends. So that's what I'm really focused on.
Now, you work with women. Do you occasionally work with men, or do you just deal with women for now?
I do. No, I do work with men as well. I just feel like as a woman, I can probably identify more with what it's like to go through life as a woman, in particular, like a woman from a minority background. But yeah, no, I'm open to working with lots of different types of people. I think there's a lot of commonalities in the challenges that we face.
I want to reword this next question. I'm going to reword it. How do people remove themselves from being belittled, playing small, and shrinking in the spotlight?
In the spotlight. I mean, there's some practical things, and there's some, I guess, some more sort of inner work that I would say that answers that. So, from a practical perspective, I would say preparation is really important. Feeling that you're confident in what you're saying, and your data points, your speaking points, all those sorts of things when you're about to go into a situation, whether it's an important meeting or a difficult conversation with a partner or whatever those things are. I think that really helps. But from a more of a sort of inside out perspective, I think a lot of that comes down to like I said before, like trusting yourself and knowing your worth, and understanding that you actually do have some value to bring, and that's okay, that you don't have to play small all the time. I think people that play small, it's a learned behavior. It's not that you're born and you play small. It's something that's been, you sort of learned through the fact that actually if I'm play small, if I'm silent, then I'm safe. Because when I don't play small, when I'm not silent, I'm not safe, because somebody could shout at me, or they could talk down to me, or whatever those things may be that you might experience. And so, all of those behaviors that you learn, you can unlearn. And it takes time and energy and a lot of focus, but you can. And so when you're in those situations where, you don't want to, be belittled, or you don't want to play small, and you don't want to shrink, I think it's really important to go back to who you truly are, unlearn those behaviors, learn to trust yourself and advocate for yourself. And that's a whole journey. It's not easy to do. It sounds easy, but it isn't. I've been on that journey myself. But it's definitely possible with, it's a practice and a discipline, but, it's definitely possible. So I've done that for myself.
It starts with your mind. How difficult can it be for some people to change their mindset? And also, I wanted to bring up people pleasing, which is something I've been doing most of my life as well too.
Oh, I think it's a lot of energy that goes into changing your mindset. It's not impossible. People change every day. the saying is the only constant is change. People always change, but it's not, for me, it's less about the fact that you fall off that sort of bandwagon. Like if you have a situation and you always react in a certain way to that situation and it no longer serves you, what's really important is to catch yourself in that space and then react to it differently in a way that works for you better. And you can work with a coach to get to that. And the more you do that, the more your reaction will change, and you'll automatically react in a way that works for you better than the way that hasn't worked for you for however long you've been reacting that way. And so it's not impossible, it's not hard, but it is a discipline and it's a practice, and it's something that you have to keep on doing. And even on occasion when you don't react the way you want, that's fine. It's not about how many times you fall out of it. For me, the measure of success is how many times you get yourself back to that space. So how many times you take yourself back to that space and reacting in the way that you want to. And people pleasing, like there's a lot of people that are people pleasers. And, some of my really good friends are people pleasers. And the way I see it is that it is such a beautiful quality. People that are like that, they give a lot, they care a lot, they want to make people feel comfortable and loved and cared for. And it is a beautiful quality. So I would never say to someone, you need to change that. All I say is that you need to put some boundaries around it. You need to put some boundaries around it and understand that prioritizing yourself and having some self-care around this doesn't mean that you're selfish. And I think that tends to be what the trade-off is. Like, oh, if I don't put someone else first and I put myself first, I'm being selfish. Well, you're not. You're taking care of yourself. And it's extremely unhealthy if you don't take care of yourself. Because if you don't fill up your cup, you've got nothing to give and put into anyone else's cup. So I think when you change that mindset, it's like, this is self-care so that I can show up in my best way and support the people that I love and care about, rather than put myself at the bottom of my own list and then I've got not much to offer anybody else.
Siarah, I wanted to ask you this too. How much of an impact has social media, the internet, had with belittling and also, I guess, kind of belittling others or bullying as well? Because everybody nowadays is on social media, and you see some people that have the perfect lifestyle, and then you kind of feel bad about yourself too.
Yeah, I mean, I think those issues have always been around. I just think social media has exacerbated it, because whereas before people had unhealthy expectations or unhealthy comparisons, even from, hundreds of years ago, like someone has got, the house that you want and the clothing that you want. Now that we have social media, it's sort of much more brought into your home, right? Into your bedroom, into your pocket. It's there with you all the time if you choose to go onto it. So I think it's made it much more prominent in that sense, because it's with you all the time. But social media can be really positive as well. This is how we connected, Chris. It can build communities, and it can be a source of empowerment and a source of wisdom and connection. And so I don't want to say it's all bad. But so like everything in life, there's a yin and a yang, there's a positive and a negative. With every advancements in technology, it makes the world a bit smaller, but it also, really sort of, I would say, I guess concentrates it into, a much smaller, focus than it did when we didn't know what everyone else was doing. And yeah, people want to show their best selves on social media. I understand that, and it's not always who they truly are. And that's why it's really important to remember that, even with celebrities and things like that, there's a very small percentage of a created life that you're seeing. It's not everything of who they are, and they still cry and they still have tough times in the way that we do. It's really important to remember that.
Siarah, I wanted to ask you this as well. How important is it to remove yourself from a toxic environment, whether it's at home or in a workplace? Because I found being in a toxic environment, I kind of shrank in that environment, and it is difficult to leave a toxic environment.
Yeah, and I've had a lot of experience with that. it's really hard, because sometimes if it's depending on the situation, sometimes you can walk away from toxic people or toxic environments completely. And that would be the ideal scenario. You just walk away and it's no longer in your life. But there's a lot of situations I've been in myself where you can't walk away from it. Maybe it's close family members, maybe it's a workplace, maybe you don't have the control over whether that person's there or not. And in those situations, I think all you really can do is like limit interactions. So if it's someone you see every day at work, maybe just, try to only interact with them like 5 minutes in that day. Or maybe you just try to see them like once a week or once every month. And all you can really do is limit those interactions as much as you can, because you can't always control whether they are fully in your, if they are in your life or not. If you can't fully walk away, then that's what I would say try to focus on. Have you tried to do that?
I have done that with a family member a number of years ago. I just decided to walk away. Removing yourself from a toxic environment is a start, but you have to learn to separate yourself from that, because when you've been in a toxic environment for a long time, whether it's in a work environment or at home with family or friends, and you do remove yourself, you tend to, from my experience, kind of try to suck yourself back into it. I guess that's not the right word, but you have to learn to remove yourself from the situation, but you also have to learn from it and move on from it. And I'm still learning to take positive feedback from people, because I was in a place for so long as like, you did this wrong, you did this wrong. And when somebody gives me a compliment, I don't know how to take it. So I'm still working on my mindset and being more positive, and then being in a toxic, negative environment.
Well,
Does that make sense? Does that what I said? Did that make sense?
That does make sense. Well done for taking yourself on that journey and prioritizing yourself and taking yourself out of that situation. It's really hard. I think it takes a lot of strength, particularly when it's family and people that you maybe are still going to have to interact with on certain occasions where everyone's together. And yeah, so well done on that. Like, that's amazing. And that journey to like rebuild your own confidence and belief in yourself, like that's, in some ways, I think that's a lifelong journey. But the fact that you're on that path and you're doing that means that you're definitely going to get there.
Being an entrepreneur, you have to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. And also in media radio, I've had some successes, but I've also had some setbacks. So you can't take things personally, but you're also going to get skeptics and naysayers. So I use the skeptics and naysayers as motivation, because I want to prove them wrong. And this is something I have a passion for. So whatever career you're in, it's important to have a passion, but you also have to have a strong belief in what you're doing. Because if you don't believe in what you're doing, nobody else will.
Oh, I completely agree with that. It's like they always say that if you're going into a job interview, go in there with the mindset of like, I'm the right person. Like, you definitely want me. I'm the person for this job. Because if you don't go in there believing that, why should they believe in that? So you need to go into like, look, I am, I've been on the other end where I'm trying to hire someone, and you go through so many interviews and you want that person, you want that perfect person just to walk through the door and be like, oh, that's it. I finally found you. I can stop doing all these interviews all the time. And, so they want it and you want it. So we're all on the same page here. So, but if you go with that mindset, you're not led by fear and doubt, and you're like, actually, I've got this. I believe in myself. I can do this. And you trust yourself and you're prepped. Like, there's nothing that's going to hold you back.
That's half the battle. And before we wrap this up, Siarah, in the next few minutes, I just wanted to play a little video clip from your TikTok page. How can people find and follow you on TikTok?
I am on TikTok and Instagram. My handle is Siarah_Khan on both. So that should be pretty easy to find. And I post pretty regularly, a couple of times a week, on different topics that resonate with me, that I've been struggling with, or that I've been battling, that I think will also help other people. So hopefully it will help other people there, empower them on their journey in this life.
Siarah, do you have any plans for a future YouTube channel or a website?
I do have plans for that. I'm not quite there yet, but yeah, I mean, I definitely want to, for me, about being on social media and being on all these platforms is about trying to help as many people as I can. And that's where people congregate. It's not that I'm a huge fan of social media. It's just that that's where people are. And if I want to help people, I need to be where they are. And so as much as I can do that. And, I also think that there's a lot of people out there. Lots of people have their unique voice, and there's, I guess what I'm trying to say is that there's enough to go. There's enough people to help that I don't think it's an oversaturation of sort of advice for people who need it and need to hear that.
And perhaps maybe one day after this experience, maybe your own podcast show too, a weekly or a monthly podcast show.
That would be really cool. Exactly. That would be really cool. No, I would definitely love to do that. But yeah, it's all on my plan of things to do. But yeah, anything that I can help other people with, that helps on their journey is something that I want to focus on.
And when you do a podcast in the future, if you need some help setting it up or some advice from me, please feel free to reach out to me as well. I try to pay it forward to others because I had people do that when I first started this out as well. Don't be afraid to ask questions, and don't be afraid to learn.
Oh, that's really kind, Chris. Thank you very much. I shall take you up on that.
Pay it forward is very important to me. Pay it forward to others.
It is really important. I think it's like you said, you probably learned the hard and painful way, and you want to make it easier for the next person, and that's really kind. I think that's one of the things that is really beautiful about humans. That we do that we want to help other people learn from our experiences and our failures and things. And so that's really wonderful. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Since I have you on here for a couple more minutes, I wanted to get your thoughts. Do you find empathy in the world has kind of shrunk towards others? Empathy, yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think there's the same amount of skeptics and critics as there are people that empathize. In some ways, with the world getting smaller, with us knowing everything that's a lot of things that are going on in the world at any one time, I think you could say on one hand people are less empathetic because there's always there's a whole saying that at any one point there's like 300 wars going on in the world. But equally, I think that we in my personal experience, I see a lot of people that are empathetic to different situations and things that you're going through, and are kind. And I think hopefully we'll be more compassionate, and that's something that's really important to me, to be compassionate to other people where they are. And even if they're not nice to you, even if somebody's not treating you well, but trying to understand where they're coming from, and being empathetic to the journey that they've been on, and not taking things personally, I think is I see a lot of that, and that's how I try to move in the world.
All right. Well, Siarah, thank you so much. And I'm going to just play this little clip right now from your TikTok channel. Just let me know if you can hear the audio. Okay, just give me 1 second. And this is called Hard Seasons Feel Endless. And I thought it was good. It's a 30-second clip.
People say this too shall pass, because everything always does, even when it feels like it won't. I've had many rough patches in my life, some long, some painfully slow. But every single time, something shifted. Either the situation ended, or I found peace with it in a way that it didn't run me anymore. Time really does heal everything if you let it. It's almost magical how it does that. So if you're in a hard season right now, please trust that where you are now isn't where you're always going to be. There's a reason people...
Thoughts on this video that you posted on TikTok, and also the impact TikTok has had on your coaching career?
I thank you for playing that video, by the way. I think it's really the reason I put that topic on there is because I really do think that time can heal everything, and it's something that I've experienced a lot in my life. Sometimes you're stuck in a difficult situation and you're like, it's always going to be this way. And it's really important to remember that nothing is always something. And nothing is always a particular way. Nothing is always, things can change, and with time, and it could be, a long season or a short season, things will change. And that's really an important message, I feel, that will help bring comfort to people in that hard season. And TikTok, I think, it's been a really great platform for me, actually. It's I feel like it's very different from Instagram, which is a bit more focused towards how people are living their personal lives, whereas TikTok is much more about like themes and topics and conversations, and I really enjoy that part of TikTok. And I often am on there. I comment on a lot of people's videos and share my insights on different things that I resonate with. And yeah, I think it's a great channel. And how do you find it, Chris?
It's been a really good tool, and yeah, I've been able to get a number of I probably have had at least 60 guests on from TikTok, but I've also been able to learn my media skills. I didn't go to broadcasting and journalism for this, so I learned how to cut promos, promote myself, promote my guests, promote my product. I've learned how to get confident doing it through the app. And by the way, before we wrap this up, I have a viewer watching from California. His name's Edward Hearn. He was a guest on my show. He's a professional motorcycle racer, and he was in the U.S. military for 20 years. He has a question for you, Siarah. He wants to know, being a military dad, raising 3 women, how do you break them from the military mindset?
Wow. I'm not too sure about the military mindset, but I guess to me that my interpretation of that will be sort of maybe being a little tougher and a little firmer and maybe not being as vulnerable. And I think if that's what the definition is, is it Brendan Brown always talks about the fact that, courage is measured in vulnerability. And I think if you can be vulnerable with your children and be open about things that you're feeling and experiencing, then that will open the doors for them to do the same. And if you can create that environment where you can have open conversations, even if they're tough conversations, and I think that will help, in my mind, counteract any of the kind of like stoic, strong, silent type of mindset that can happen perhaps in those military environments.
I want to say thank you to Edward for that question, and thank you for replying back to that question as well. And as we wrap up this show, I wanted to ask you this too, Siarah. What is your philosophy when working with your clients, and are your coaching sessions both in person and virtually, or just virtually?
Both in person and virtually. They can be on Zoom calls, or obviously if you're London based, then they can definitely be in person. My philosophy is kind of actually full circle of what I said at the start. Like, all the answers that you need related to your life, you already have, but working together, we can build your confidence and trust enough to be able to make those decisions and hear and get to those answers. And that's essentially what my philosophy is.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. I do this with all my guests as we wrap up a show. It's called, what's 3 words to describe yourself?
Oh, wow. Myself. Generally, I was going to say, how I describe myself or how other people describe me? My description of myself would be, I'm very positive. I am very determined. That's sort of one of my superpowers. And I'm really smiley.
Perfect. You should put that on a t-shirt or a mug.
Thank you, I will.
And that's good. I always want to make my guests laugh and not cry.
Yes, laughing is important. Just smiling instantly makes you feel better. If you're in a bad mood, just smile and you will feel better.
And as we wrap this up, this is a new segment. It's called Ask the Host CDP a Question. Do you have a question or two for me, and put me on the hot seat?
Sure, actually. How was 2025 for you, and what are you looking forward to in 2026?
2025 was it was good. I think I've improved. I've grown. For 2026, I want to get more advertising companies on here. I want to continue to grow my business on YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, and I want to get more opportunities, either as freelance media work, more opportunities, or to get opportunities in the radio industry. And if that does not work, I want to continue to build this show, because I really feel that I have a good connection with all my guests. And the show is about good storytelling and learning and connecting with people, and I love doing what I'm doing. And whatever career you're in, it's important to find your passion. And also, I want to prove to people that age is just a number. Just because I'm 53 does not make me a liability. And life experiences and life skills are just as important as being younger too. And I've worked with youth too, and a lot of the younger people really don't care about my age or my background. They just like to learn from my life experiences and life skills. And I'm learning to keep an open mind too. I used to have a closed mind when I was in security. Oh, the younger generation are lazy and there's no future for them. But don't have a whatever you do in life, keep an open mind and be willing to try new things too.
I love that. That's
I
brilliant.
hope
And
that
it's,
I hope that answers the question.
that does ask the question. Another question: what would you say is your superpower?
My superpower, I would say my determination, my willpower, because I've been doing this for 6 years and I've had people tell me, "No, you're too old, you're self-taught, you can't do this." I have a strong willpower. So I would say willpower and determination.
I love that. That's brilliant. And it is, they said that every successful person is not because you had, great ideas, because they never gave up. And that's a big part of being successful. Whatever you want to achieve is just not giving up, just keep going, even when it's tough, even when you're not seeing results. But consistency will get you there.
Well said. That is exactly it. And I try to, when I speak to high school students once a month, which I'm doing a little bit today, I just tell them about education is important in classroom, but in an education is a lifelong process. It's not just in a classroom. And also too, you have to have a mindset and you have to believe in yourself. And also, you don't have to pick one career and that's it for the rest of your life. You can have 2, 3, 4 different careers, and age is just a number too. And to keep an open mind, that would be the biggest thing, is tell people to keep an open mind to possibilities and things and don't close things off.
Yeah, I think that's so important, like being open to new opportunities. And to your point earlier, like getting out of your comfort zone.
And yeah, and you got to take risks and do things, and being nervous sometimes is not a bad thing. It means when you're nervous, that means you care, you want to do a good job. And when I was doing camera work, I was nervous as anything, and then as soon as the red light went on, I started filming. I just kind of focused on what I needed to do, and that's how I do with this show too. I don't even worry about the camera being on. I just focus on my guests and having very good conversations, and it's the guests that make a great show. And Siarah, I want to say thank you so much for having faith in coming on my show and giving us over an hour of our time today. And you do have an open invite to come back on again in the future. And give me a little bit of time this afternoon, and I will send you the full video, the audio, and I will edit the video into reels and clips, because everyone's attention spans nowadays is getting shorter and shorter. And that's one thing too about TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. The shorter the video, the more views. It seems like the less time, the more views. That's how the trends are going in social media.
That's very true. Thank you so much for having me on your show, Chris. I'd love to come back at some point, and I really enjoyed the conversation.
Well, you're a great guest, and I want to say thank you. And where can our audience follow you on social media, and the best way of contacting you for your services?
Definitely on TikTok and Instagram. My handle is at Siarah_Khan. And yeah, reach out to me on DM. My channels are open, and we can go from there.
Well, I want to again say thank you so much, and congratulations. I want to say thank you so much and continued success in your coaching career. And we'll definitely be in touch with you on TikTok, Instagram, social media, and we'll talk to you soon. I want to say thank you so much for your time today, and have a great rest of your afternoon and evening. And we'll chat soon.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Talk to you soon. All right, everyone, that wraps up season 12, episode 39, overall 644 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership. Our friends are located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Automall. Check out their website, BarryCullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with the great selection of all-electric vehicles and Cadillac vehicles as well. You can call the dealership at 519-824-0210. Tell them Chris Palme sent you. Or you can email them at info@BarryCullen.com. Again, Barry Cullen Chevrolet is the official advertiser of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. And as we wrap up this show, guys, I have another announcement to make. And my next show is going to be tomorrow, Thursday, January 8th at 10 a.m. That's Thursday, January 8th at 10 a.m. And my guest is going to be her first appearance. Her name is Luna Ming. She's an award-winning actor, musician, singer, and a knitwear designer. And she's based out of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So Luna Ming will be my next guest, and we're going to talk a little bit about her acting career and her music career and being a knitwear designer. And she's based out of Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and she's originally from China as well. So tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 on the West Coast time as well. And I want to say thank you to my guest today, Siarah Khan, confidential and communications coach, for coming on here as well. Please make sure you check out Siarah on the social media platforms on my ticker. She is on TikTok and Instagram and also LinkedIn. And eventually, I think she said she's going to work on a website and a YouTube channel. So please make sure you follow Siarah Khan on these social media platforms. And I want to say thank you so much for her coming on here today. I would continue a little bit longer, but I do have another speaking engagement very soon with the Business Education Partnership of Waterloo Region. I am just over there in about an hour and a half to speak to some local high school students. So I'm excited about my public speaking opportunity with the Business Education Partnership of Waterloo Region. Thank you to Jennifer Burnstill as well. And as we wrap up this show, guys, quickly, if you're looking to adopt a pet, check out the Cambridge and District Humane Society, located at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. Telephone number 519-623-7722, extension 0, or visit their website, cambridgehumanesociety.org. All the animals that are up for adoption, their profile and information on cambridgehumanesociety.org. And I want to say thank you to everyone watching this show live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, X, and Instagram. And Live with CDP Sports Entertainment Talk Show is available on these audio platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and Good Pods. As we wrap up this show, again, I want to say thank you to my guest, Siarah Khan, for coming on here today, and looking forward to our next show tomorrow, Thursday, January 8th, 10 a.m. with Luna Ming. I hope everybody has a great afternoon, and we'll see you guys here tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. for another edition of Live with CDP Sports Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by BarryCullen.com and hosted by yours truly, CDP, known as Chris Palme. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Live with CDP Sports.